Sister, help me. My younger brother, who's a year younger than me, is crazy and loves to flirt. As night falls in the dark room, only soft, sensual breathing can be heard. Rip. Sheng Shuran tore open the hem of her cheongsam, straddled the man's lap and climbed onto his sturdy chest. The man's clean, fresh scent drifted into my nostrils. Bite me. Sheng Shuran's gaze had already begun to blur. Not a kiss, rather, a bite. There was an unsettling restlessness in her, and the gentle friction could no longer suffice. The man was very obedient, gently biting her red lips. Not enough. Sheng Shuran urged the man's lips and lowered her head to bite his Adam's apple. With a slight but firm pressure between her teeth, the man let out a low groan. Hey, I want it this way. As Sheng Shuran's voice had barely faded, the man suddenly sat up, supporting her waist with his hand, and pressed her onto the bed. Their bodies were pressed tightly against each other, ready to ignite at any moment. Want it? The man finally spoke, his voice cold and detached. Does it sound familiar? Sheng Shuran tried hard to open her eyes. The night was too dark. There was absolutely no way to make out the man's silhouette. Yeah, Sheng Shuran said, ignoring it all. She arched her waist uncomfortably, and the man took the opportunity to gently grasp her waist. Who am I? It doesn't matter. Sheng Shuran wrapped her arms around the man's neck, pulling him close to her and eagerly searching for his lips. Plywood meets raging fire. Earth fire entwines with heavenly thunder. The sound of fabric tearing is mingled with increasingly heavy gasps. Two figures began to overlap and entwine with each other. Just as Sheng Shuran was about to lose consciousness, the man suddenly looked up, grabbed her chin, and fixed his hazy yet sinister peach-colored eyes on her. It's Kaizen, sis. Sis. A scream jolted Sheng Shuran awake. The aroma lamp by the bedside cast a faint glow, reminding her that what had just happened was nothing but a dream. I had the same dream again. For a year now, she has been having the same dream over and over again. The same environment, the same things, the same people. Sheng Shuran hastily shook her head, trying to shake off the desire for Chixin. Hes, her younger brother. How could she possibly have such a dream? She paused for a moment, thinking of getting up to grab a glass of water. When suddenly the phone rang in the dead of night, startling Sheng Shuran. Are you a family member of Kaizen? I'm not his family. You're Sheng Shuran, aren't you? Yes, that's right. Kaizen's emergency contact was filled and only with you. Hurry and come to the First People's Hospital of City C. Kaizen was in a car accident. A car accident. Sheng Shuran instantly felt wide awake. Yuri pretty badly hurt. Come over as soon as possible. Yes, Sheng Shuran isn't in China right now. She's in Country J, touring with the orchestra. She wanted to call someone from the Fu family, but after picking up the phone, she put it down again. Kaizen hates the Fu family. If someone from the Fu family comes, I'm afraid Kaizen will once again cause some kind of commotion. Sheng Shuran no longer hesitated and booked the earliest flight back home. On the other side, sitting in the passenger seat, Cheongsam hung up the phone and turned to the person in the driver's seat. Ji, are you satisfied? The gloom on Kaizen's face hadn't lifted. His cold, piercing gaze fixed on the dark road ahead, where the blinding white light from the car's headlights gradually faded into the darkness. The night is rampant, seeming to have no end. If you don't want to die, get out of the car, Kaizen said coldly. No sooner had he kicked Song out of the car than he floored the accelerator. The low rumble of the engine cut through the dead of night, while a sharp impact tore through the sky. A blood-red Maserati. After hitting the stone pillar, T flipped in mid-air and ended up lying across the road. Holy crap, that's intense. Cheongsam dropped the cigarette he'd been holding and hurried over immediately. Kaizen kicked open the deformed car door and crawled out from among a pile of glass shards. Blood streamed down his head, flowing over his captivating peach-colored eyes. then down his straight nose and thin lips, finally trailing steadily along his sharply defined jawline. He laughed a grim, twisted laugh, his voice tinged with a morbid anticipation. Now, take me to the first People's Hospital of City C. She's coming to see me. When Sheng Shuran arrived at the hospital, Kaizen was lying in the emergency room, his head wrapped in thick bandages. His face was pale, and his eyes were tightly closed, looking fragile and utterly vulnerable. Her heart skipped a beat, and she quickly walked to the bedside. Just as she was about to reach out and touch his forehead, her wrist was suddenly grabbed by someone else. Kaizen didn't know when Ichiji woken up. Those peach-colored eyes, always laced with hostility, were now glistening with moisture, resembling a wounded young beast fixed intently on her. His voice hoarse to the point of near unrecognizability. Sister Yuri here. Sheng Shuran's heart softened in an instant. She reached out and took his icy hand, her voice growing gentler. I'm here. Don't be afraid. I'm right here. Kayexen's fingertips gently caressed her wrist, his eyes filled with a hint of resentment yet. Hidden within them was a kind of obsession she couldn't quite understand. Sister, it hurts. The doctor said it's just a superficial injury and a mild concussion. You'll be fine in no time, Sheng Shuran reassured him. She reached out to smooth the stray strands of hair from his forehead, and her fingertips accidentally brushed against his wound. Kaizen let out a muffled grunt, but instead of pulling away, he leaned even closer toward her, burying his face in the palm of her hand and rubbing gently against it. It still hurts, he said in a sticky voice, sounding just as he did when he was a child, reliant yet tinged with a hint of petulance. Sheng Shuran felt helpless and had no choice but to go along with him, gently patting his back as if soothing a child. Then it'll stay with you once you're better. The pain will be gone. Kaizen closed his eyes and rubbed himself deeper into the palm of her hand. The scent of gardenia, familiar and lingering on her skin, wafted gently toward his nose, a fragrance that had been etched into his very bones since childhood. A faint, contented smile curled at the corners of his lips, fleeting and too quick for anyone to catch. He'd known all along that as soon as anything happened to him, she'd definitely come. She'll never be able to shake him off for the rest of her life. Sheng Shuran spent 3 days at the hospital accompanying Kaizen. During these 3 days, Kaizen was like a clingy little tail, hardly ever letting her out of his sight for a moment. When she went to the restroom, He'd tug on the hem of her clothes. When she went to fetch water, He'd insist that she stay within his line of sight. Even at night, when it was time to sleep, he wouldn't close his eyes unless he was holding her hand. Sheng Shuran simply assumed He'd been startled and didn't think much about it. He just felt that he was still the little boy who used to follow closely behind her as a child, timidly calling out to her sister. It wasn't until the 4th day that she received a call from the orchestra, urging her to return to Country J as soon as possible to resume the performance. She glanced at Kaizen, who was still receiving an IV drip, looking somewhat hesitant. She crouched down by the hospital bed and said softly, Kaizen, I have to go back now. My performance can't be delayed. Kayexen's fingertips tightened suddenly, gripping her hand. Her peach-colored eyes instantly clouded over, and her voice carried a barely perceptible chill. Go back. Sister, are you leaving? My contract with the orchestra hasn't ended yet. I've got to go back and finish the remaining performances. Sheng Shuran didn't notice anything unusual about him. She just assumed he was reluctant to part with her. No way. Kayexen's voice grew cold, taking on an unyielding firmness that left no room for argument. You can't leave. Chixin, I really have to go. It's my job. Sheng Shuran patiently explained to him. Work. Kaizen let out a laugh, and the hurt in his eyes vanished, replaced by an almost obsession. In your eyes, am I less important than your work? Sheng Shuran was taken aback for a moment. She'd never seen Kaizen like this before. His expression carried a strange, sharp edge that made her feel slightly uneasy. I didn't mean it that way, I just... Sister, Kaizen interrupted her. He leaned slightly toward her, his warm breath brushing against her ear, as he spoke in a deep, seductive voice. Have you forgotten why I was in that car accident? Sheng Shuran's heart sank suddenly. She looked into his deep, bottomless peach-colored eyes and for the first time realized that she had never really understood him at all. What do you mean? Kaizen looked at her aunt's face and smiled a smile tinged with a morbid sort of pleasure. Sister, I've known all along that as soon as something happened to me, you'd definitely come back. Sheng Shuran's face turned pale in an instant. You caused your own car accident. Otherwise, Kaizen spread his hands wide, smiling innocently yet cruelly. Otherwise, how could I possibly keep you by my side, sister? Do you really think I'd just stand by and watch you leave? Sheng Shuran abruptly pulled back his hand, took a step backward, and looked at Kaizen standing before him, feeling an icy chill run through his entire body. This was the Kaizen she knew, the Kaizen who'd grown up under her care since childhood, who depended on her and called her older sister. The man before me was like a wolf that had been lying in wait for a long time, finally revealing his sharp fangs. Cheongsam, stop messing around. Sheng Shuran forced herself to suppress the unease in her heart and tried to speak to him in her old tone. I'm just going back to finish the performance, he'll be right back soon. Come back? Kai Xen's peach-colored eyes narrowed slightly and the menace in his gaze grew ever deeper. Sister, who are you trying to fool? Every time you leave, it takes ages for you to come back. This time I'm not letting you go again. What do you want to do? Sheng Shuran stared at him cautiously. Kaizen looked at her weary expression and let out a low chuckle, his voice tinged with both resentment and a hint of madness. What do I want to do? Sister, I just want to keep you by my side. What's wrong with that? Suddenly, he reached out and pulled her into his arms with such force that she cowed and broke free. His chin rested against the hollow of her neck, his breath hot and heavy, accompanied by a whisper laced with a hint of obsession. My brother's dead, and there's no one left from the Fu family to protect you anymore, sister. From now on, you're mine. Sheng Shuran's body went rigid. Her older brother, Caillou, the older brother of Kai Xin, had passed away unexpectedly last year. She had always known that Kaizen hated the Fu family, but she'd never imagined he'd ever say something like this. Kaizen, let me go, she struggled. But he held her even tighter. No way. Kai Xen's voice carried a hint of tears, yet also a touch of mad, resolute determination. They'll wait this day after waiting so long. Sister, don't even think about escaping. We have only one ending, to die together in love. Sheng Shuran's heart sank completely. She finally understood that those recurring dreams, the obsessions and madness within them, had never been groundless at all. The little puppy she had been raising for so many years had long since grown into a crazed wolf, and she was his only prey. Kaizen held her close, feeling her body temperature and heartbeat, in his eyes burned an unyielding possessiveness. From a young age, he'd known that Sheng Shuran was his older sister, but he'd never once treated her as such. When he watched her play the violin on stage in a cheongsam, when he saw her smile so gently, when he saw her protected by the Fu family behind them, he cowed and helped but longed to snatch her away, hide her somewhere, and keep her all to himself. His older brother is dead. The Fu family has fallen apart, and now no one can stand between him and her anymore. This time, he won't let go again. Sister, please don't resist. Okay? Kai Xen's lips brushed against the side of her neck, his voice soft yet dangerously seductive. You can't escape. Not even for a second. From the moment you agree to come to the hospital and see me, you've already been trapped. Sheng Shuran's struggling gradually came to a halt. He stared at the ceiling, her gaze vacant. She knew that Kaizen was telling the truth when he lost his mind. Did she do anything at all? She looked at his head buried in the hollow of her neck, at the wound on his scalp that hadn't yet healed. Suddenly, she felt as though she had never really understood him at all. The little boy who had trailed behind her since childhood, timidly calling her sister, had long since grown into a relentless obsession and madness that she could no longer shake off. Day after day, year after year, Kaizen felt that she had stopped struggling. He raised his head. looked at her pale face, and reached out to gently stroke her cheek, a gesture so tender it seemed almost unreal. Yet in his eyes remained an unyielding obsession. Sister, please stay by my side, okay? Sheng Shuran, and looked into his eyes. The usual peach-colored gaze now reflected only her figure, filled with a sickly, irresistible anticipation. She knew she had no choice. She closed her eyes, nodded, and her voice was as soft as a sigh. Okay. Kaizen smiled, a smile like that of a child finally getting a piece of candy. He lowered his head and kissed her lips with a touch of cautious tenderness and yet also a hint of wild possessiveness, as if he wanted to melt her into his very bones and blood. Sheng Shuran's air slid down silently. She knew that from this moment on, there would be no more freedom in her world. In Kai X's world, there are no rules, no twinkling stars in the daytime, no mountains and seas collapsing. There is only her. She is his one and only exception, his sole salvation and his utter madness. Finally, he kept his sister by his side. She would never leave him again, for the rest of their lives. He'll hold her tightly in his own way, never giving her another chance to leave. Even if it's hell, he'll pull her along with him forever together.